This video is going to be all about high-ticket dropshipping suppliers. I get lots of frequently asked questions on how suppliers work, the whole dynamic of working with high-ticket dropshipping suppliers. And so I have a list of questions here that I'm just going to address in order. I'll list them out for you just so you know what this video is going to be all about. If you have any questions that I did not answer, leave them in the comments below, and let's get into it. First question, how do you find suppliers? Second question, how do you get suppliers? Why would they want to work with you? What if they also advertise their products on Google? How does pricing work? And how do you pay them for orders the customers place on your site? So let's get into it. I will go through each question in order. How do you find suppliers? Well, the first thing you have to do is choose your niche. Let's assume that you've chosen your niche. Now you have to find suppliers of the products in that niche. It's pretty easy. You can literally Google manufacturers of X product. I always use the example water pumps. I would just type in manufacturers of water pumps, and then from there you can find pretty much every brand under the sun. Finding suppliers is very easy. It's just companies that produce these products. You can use ChatGPT to give you a list of suppliers for any given product. You can look at competitor websites to see what brands they carry. Those brands will be made by the suppliers that those competitors are working with. So finding suppliers is very easy. How do you get suppliers? This is where a lot of people get really uncomfortable because it requires you to reach out and to kind of put yourself out there. Cold calling, cold emailing suppliers, and facing rejection. And coming from sales and a sales background, that's always someone's biggest fear, but it's kind of a hump that you have to get over. But that's one of the beauties of high-ticket dropshipping is a lot of people aren't willing to put themselves out there like that. So it automatically lowers the competition, and let alone you have to be kind of a good communicator to land good suppliers, and that already filters out a lot of the people. Even if they're willing to try and get suppliers, if you're a better communicator than others, you'll have a better chance to land a high quality supplier. So how do you get them? The simple answer is calling and emailing. Let's assume you've set up your website. Let's assume you've branded it and you've got your business email and your business phone all set up. You are literally going to either call or email. I prefer calling because it's harder to say no over the phone than it is to an email. It's really easy to ignore an email. And let's say I'm calling supplier X, they carry water pumps. I'll call and I'll say, hi, my name's Joe for sure. And I was just hoping to have a conversation with someone about opening a wholesale account with you guys. Let's assume I get connected with the person that manages wholesale accounts. Usually it's some sort of sales manager. I'll introduce myself again, and I'll just explain where I'm at in the process. Let's assume that I have no background in this industry. This is my first website ever. And the best thing that you can do when reaching out to suppliers is just being honest with them about where you're at in the process and your background. You know, you can just say up front, this is where I'm at in the process. I'm working on onboarding suppliers, and no, I don't have extensive industry experience, but I've done enough research to understand the customer demographic and the customer needs. And I think your product line would be a really good fit for what I'm looking to do. And so again, what they appreciate is honesty, because they get hit up by people like you and me all the time wanting to sell their products. And so if you come off as a good communicator and you are a genuine person, that's going to speak way more volumes than, a long canned pitch about why your business is way better than everyone else's, because you don't have that industry experience set to even say that. Really, the hardest thing is just getting your first supplier. You really just need one, because then when you approach other suppliers, you can literally say, I'm working with X company. And once you reference one of their competitors and say, I'm working with your competitor, and I think your product line would be a really good fit too, it's a much easier approach than just having nothing to stand on at all. That said, there are some suppliers where on their website, they will literally have a form that you can fill out, and it's basically like, fill out this form to become a retailer for us. And some companies will literally just send you the paperwork to fill out to do it. Others will want to have a follow-up conversation with you to ask more questions about your business and your background. But getting suppliers is a lot easier than people get it credit for or give it credit for. That said, I realize that a lot of people, like, let's say outside of the United States, that want to set up businesses in the United States, the language barrier is a challenge. I recently released a new service that I'm doing. I will actually get you suppliers for your business here in the United States. So I'll put the link in the description below for that. But that's getting suppliers in a nutshell. It's more or less relationship selling rather than business selling. Why would suppliers want to work with you? In other words, why do they need you? Why wouldn't they just sell their products directly to consumers? It's a really fair question to ask. And a lot of the time, suppliers do sell directly to their consumers, in addition to working with retailers like other dropshipping sites or sites like Walmart or Target or Home Depot, whatever the industry or the case might be. The advantage for them working with retailers like you is it's basically free advertising. It's more exposure for their brand. It's advertising dollars that they are not spending that you are for them. And so it's kind of a no-brainer that they would want to have that in their back pocket. That said, some suppliers are going to be more selective than others because high quality companies want their brand well represented by other high quality companies. And so, if you're just getting started, the reality is some suppliers are just going to tell you no because you don't really have any business history. It doesn't mean it's a no always, it's just a no today. So, let's say 2 years from now and your business has done really well in that industry. You can go back to that supplier and show them what you've done and show them what you've done for other businesses. Or other suppliers rather, and say, look, I think you'd be a really good fit here. I know the answer was no a couple years ago, but if you're willing to hear me out, I'd love to revisit it. That's kind of why they would want to work with you. It's because it's brand exposure and it's free advertising dollars that they don't have to spend. What if they also advertise, kind of on a similar vein? So let's say you're working with a supplier, you're advertising their products on Google, but they also are. That's extremely common. I would say it's more often than not that is the case. And so the question comes down to, why would a customer buy from you if they can buy directly from the manufacturer? There's not really a straightforward answer to that. It's just some will choose to buy from you, some will choose to buy from the manufacturer. Because at the end of the day, they're buying the exact same product for the exact same price, and it's coming from the exact same place. So that's my simple answer on that, is that it's more common than not that you're going to be competing against your own suppliers in Google Ads. How does pricing work? This depends on the country that you're in. In the United States, we've got something called MAP. Not every supplier enforces this, but I would say it's much more common than not. What MAP stands for, MAP, is minimum advertised pricing. And this is something that protects all retailers of a given supplier from undercutting each other. So you will get price sheets from your suppliers, and they will literally have both the wholesale price listed for every individual SKU, every item that they possibly sell, every part. And then they'll have the retail price, or the MAP price, that every retailer has to adhere to. And what that's telling them is you cannot advertise these products at any price below this number. Because again, this protects all retailers from just undercutting each other and just trying to compete when it comes to price. And that's something that I really like. I think it's a wonderful thing that protects people, and it protects businesses' margins between wholesale and retail. So that's in the United States. I know, for instance, in the UK, MAP is, I don't know if it's illegal, but I think, for lack of a better term, it is. No supplier uses it, and so you will get your wholesale prices from your suppliers, but from there, it's up to you how much you want to charge customers to buy from you. And that'll kind of come down to your determination based on, are you offering free shipping? Where are you shipping to? Do you have to collect sales tax? And just little things like that you kind of have to determine what kind of margins can I afford to make on here without really undercutting myself. So that's pricing in a nutshell. Last question, how do you pay them? This is one of the most common questions that I get. So let's say a customer buys or places an order on your store for supplier X. And so you will receive the funds from Shopify within 2 business days into your bank account. And then you have to pay the difference of the retail price and the wholesale price. Well, you have to pay the wholesale price to the supplier. And the way that this will vary from company to company depending on who you work with. Some suppliers will require payment upon shipment, so they won't ship a product until you've paid for it. Other suppliers will have net terms, for instance, net 14, which means you have 14 days to pay this invoice for the order that you just placed. And I think the easiest way to go about it is, if the concern is you're not going to have the funds in your bank account on time, you would set up a business credit card and the supplier would have that card on file and just charge it. And then once the funds arrive in your bank account, you would pay off the balance on your credit card that you used. And this is the way that I have always operated with high-ticket dropshipping because it racks up a ton of cash back and travel reward points on your credit card. It fully funded a trip to Italy last year for me and my wife. So just something to keep in mind. But, if you're in a situation where money's tight and you're not going to be able to pay someone on time, but you want to get this order out the door to make the customer happy, that's going to come down to what kind of a relationship do you have with your supplier. And that's something, relationships with your supplier at the end of the day are one of the most important things that you can establish. And it's something you want to really get off on a good foot with any given supplier, because the more revenue you drive from them, that they can clearly see that you do well by the customer and they like to work with you. If you have a good relationship with your supplier, they'll be more willing to be flexible on when you might pay a certain invoice. Or I've even had situations where I've had really large orders placed and I would reach out to the supplier and be like, hey, this is a really big order. I was wondering if you could maybe do me a favor and maybe give me an extra 5% on margin. And sometimes the answer was no. Often the answer was yes. Again, it comes down to what kind of a relationship do you have with them. So that's about all I wanted to cover for this video. I hope it's helpful. Again, if there were any questions I left unaddressed as far as suppliers go, let me know in the comments. And I do offer a high-ticket dropshipping course. It goes from step A to Z, from setting up a business entity to running your Google ads, every step along the way in detail. And I'll put the link in the description below. And like I mentioned, I also offer consulting services as far as creating a website and actually getting suppliers for you and your business. So like and subscribe, comment, all the good stuff, and we'll see you next time.